That's interesting. Well, man, I'm looking forward to getting into the album, Wondrous Toy. I'm looking forward to getting into your world of music. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So let's begin our journey before we get into the new album and your life and music. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing everything, especially for musicians. How did you survive the pandemic of 2020, and how did it radiate either into this album, the work you're doing, or what you're living in 2025?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say back during the pandemic, I was actually living in Spain at the time, over in like a suburb, sort of small town outside of Sevilla. Um, I was really I was teaching English and really interested in flamenco culture and Spanish guitar so I actually and I don't know how much you're familiar with their restrictions, their lockdown restrictions, but
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I couldn't leave for 49 days. The only reason, you were allowed to leave is to go get groceries, essential needs, or go to the hospital. And they had military and police in the street that were like checking your receipts. It was very locked down. And so pretty much the only thing I really had with me was a Spanish guitar, it was more of a classical than a flamenco guitar, and a real book. I had one of those real books with me, and I had 49 days unlimited time to just kind of go through and learn tunes, and that was what I would say. Not it wasn't as much of a survival. It was more of, for me, it was like, hey, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. It really brought me through that kind of difficult period.
Our sister city in Kansas City is Seville, Spain.
No way.
Yeah, and I was telling somebody that was very familiar with it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a shopping area out there called Kansas City," and I never knew why. And I was like, "That's," and we have a place, we have kind of a premier shopping district called the Plaza, and
Sure.
it's like it's all modeled in the whole Spanish Seville thing, and I never knew until later on, so it's wild, man.
Oh, no way. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there's so many parallels between flamenco and the blues in general. So
Yeah.
both having those strong traditions, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So, A Wondrous Toy, let's get into it. What was your vision, and how good does it feel on a visceral level to have this out and done?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, so the group of guys, we've been playing together for quite a while. We've got Moshe and Ben, Moshe on the keys, Ben on the drums, and then John Lynn on the bass. I mean, they're all monsters. They make my job very easy. So it's great to have it out there. I mean, I've always tried to approach putting together albums, and this is the third album I've put out over the last couple years, and it always kind of comes just from things that I enjoy. There's no real structure or parameters other than I have to like the song.
Yeah.
Um, some of which are originals, and they're probably under more scrutiny than the other ones. Some of them are standards, and some of them are just folk tunes that I've kind of happened across. But yeah, feels great to have it out.
So, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Yeah, I think the way that we record it and where we sourced the songs from, whether it's originals or the sort of songs that are a real part of this rich folk and sort of jazz tradition, I really want the listener to to have the songs kind of speak for themselves. And the way that we recorded that album and all of the previous albums is we just go into the studio, we do live takes, and then we take the best one. Like this Wondrous Toy, we recorded the whole thing in 5 hours. It was a couple of them were first takes, a couple of them were second or third takes, and I really want the listener to kind of enjoy and appreciate the live nature of the recording. And there are, they're littered with what some people would call mistakes, what I would call wrinkles, both, from multiple different angles. But I think those sort of nuances, those mistakes, quote unquote, are what add texture and interesting pieces, where nowadays, like, so much music is just kind of cookie cutter. You get all the producers in there, you get all the pitch correction, the quantization, and this is kind of going the complete opposite direction of that, hopefully.
So take me back to your beginnings, where you were born and raised, how these roots of music and more specifically jazz became your life.
Yeah, so my growing up, both my parents were really into music. My my mom always, had I remember like Ella and Lewis were like constantly playing throughout the house. So I feel like I learned a lot of these songs just sort of subconsciously through permeation as a kid, and it's always really, I've always really kind of resonated. Those voices and those musical themes have always resonated with me. I did a bit of musical theater in like elementary, middle school, and so that was kind of the extent of my vocal training and musical training, a little bit of piano lessons, but I kind of stopped all that at like, sixth and seventh grade when it becomes really academic,
Yeah.
right? You have to, as a kid, you don't want to practice every day, although as an adult, you see the merit and wish that you did when you were younger. But I kind of stepped away from music for like 10 years. And it wasn't until I was living in Wyoming, actually, of all places, in Jackson Hole. I was a ski bum out there, that I encountered a community big band, and they were just like the most like kind and welcoming community. And really, I sort of dove back into jazz through that lens. Didn't know how to read music really at the time, so I had to kind of build that skill out as well. But had such a great time with those folks out there, and it just sort of brought back the love of jazz and performing and doing so with other people.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away? That made you think I want to do that one day?
It's kind of jazz adjacent. I mean, this guy does so many genres. So, Bela Flack, Bela
Okay.
Flack. So not, I mean, he just put out Rhapsody in Blue. So I guess we could call him jazz musician. But
Yeah.
yeah, I saw Bela Fleck here in when I was really young. It might be the first concert I actually even remember, and I was so totally blown away by his performance, just the creativity, the improvisational nature of it was it really excited me. I think the other thing that really influenced me a lot was here in Burlington. We have the Burlington Discover Jazz Festival, which happens, once a year. It's changed and evolved throughout the years. But we always we would have it, pretty much in your backyard for what you used to be a 10-day long festival. And you'd go down and it'd be a whole mix of folks from, everyone. Ella Fitzgerald has even played there, had played there in the past. This, in more recent years, Samara Joy, and this year we had Parliament Funkadelic, but you also have just the middle school bands, right, that are performing the high school bands, and so you can kind of see that whole spectrum and the timeline, if you will, and um, that always excited me to just see how people progress. And I didn't necessarily, at that young age, think that that would be me on stage playing there, but certainly as I started to develop, it definitely, looking back, it made a big difference, I think.
Who were some musicians that you emulated, that you looked up to, that helped you find your voice on your instrument?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I think probably just Ella and Lewis, like very early on. Lewis certainly, Louis Armstrong certainly, with the scatting vocabulary, but also the trumpet vocabulary. What he does just with the kind of those vibratos. I love that. And I've been taking trumpet lessons for about 3 years now. I'm very bad. I haven't played it in public, but I do listen to a lot more horn players these days because of that. So, the sort of Roy Eldridge, Clifford Brown lineage has been really exciting to listen to. And then more contemporary musicians. I really love Sean Jones. I really dig Kurt Elling, in terms of vocalists. Venetia Gould as well, out of the Brooklyn area. I mean, she's just got an incredible voice. So anyone that really has a a unique sort of sound that is their, you can tell that they're not necessarily trying to emulate anyone. Sure, they take those influences, but they're singing from the core of, or playing from the core of who they are as a person. Like that is the most attractive to me, and I always find myself going in that direction.
So, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day?
Honestly, it's the relationships. It's the relationships you make with, you know, the people you play with, the audience members. I don't think anybody would ever say that they got into this to make a lot of money or to be like the richest guy in the world. It's just the economics, as you know, are not great to be a professional musician in this day and age. And so the it 100% comes back to just the relationships that you build with people. That you get to, you know, see cool places, have just so many great conversations at the end of a gig. You're just, you know, packing up and people come up and talk to you and tell you about how, you know, one particular song or one particular moment resonated with them in their life and what they and what's important to them. And it feels like you're, you know, making an impact on people, on the world, and in and that's pretty special. I think that definitely keeps me coming back.
So, why do you love this art form we call jazz?
I think for sure the improvisational nature of it. I think Wynton Marsalis put it best in talking about how it's like a democracy, right? You look at other types of genres, and everyone has their specific role, and sure, there's a little bit of leeway here and there, and you can take some artistic liberties, but jazz, you know, it really and truly is one of those genres where you're going to sing or play how you're feeling on that day. You know, you're going to bring your life experience into it, and you're going to have the opportunity to, you know, have a conversation with your bandmates, but also with the audience. And it's going to change every night. It's going to, you know, when you record a record, all three of the different takes that we have for each of these songs are totally different. They're completely different. We chose, you know, the ones that we thought represented best the what we were going for on the album, but there each time you play the song, it's completely different. And I love that. I've never been a routine person. That's why I think practicing was so difficult as a kid, but I've learned that that is an important aspect of this. But yeah, the lack of routine, I love that.
So, if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one jazz show, where are you going?
Oh, that's a good question too. I think I would have liked to go on one of those the kind of cruise ships that went up and down the Mississippi, and you know, heard a young Louis Armstrong,
Yeah.
you know, tearing it up. I like, you know, late teens, early 20s Louis Armstrong. I can't imagine anything more pure and enjoyable than that.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So, Andrew, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, everyone you work with on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That is a good question. Um, I I don't take myself too seriously. I try not to. I there are certain things that, you know, I do take seriously, and I give a tremendous amount of respect to the music, you know, people in general, just being kind to one another, being a good person. I think that that deserves, you know, in this day and age, in this world, like, you know, that deserves a tremendous amount of attention and responsibility. But I try not to take myself too seriously. Like if I screw something up in a song, you know, playing live, or, you know, if I make a mistake in business or in music or what have you, like I try not to hold on to that. I try not to dwell on it. I want to move past. And I'm a very I'm a serial optimist. I'm sure you've come across some of those people in the world. I see the world through rose-colored glasses. Or I try to at least.
So if anyone wants to pick up a copy of A Wondrous Toy, see you live, any of the good business, where do they go?
Yeah, so we're on all the typical streaming platforms. We have shows periodically throughout New York, as well as regionally sort of touring the Northeast. I would say the Instagram, as much as I try to spend as little time as possible on social media just for my own sanity. That is kind of where I organize, and we'll do more marketing or outreach in terms of like if you want to check us out. But you might just stumble across us. That I feel like that's the best way. You're down in a club somewhere and you might stumble across us. That's it's happened many times in the past.
Beautiful. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you for taking time out. Best of luck on the album. I totally appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Joe.
Kansas City musicians, filmmakers, and creatives, this is your invitation. Don't miss Sound to Screen, a one-day music and film workshop on July 19th, 2025 at UMKC's Katz Hall from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Learn how to take your song from concept to screen, bring your instruments, connect with local artists, and enjoy a special masterclass with members of Kansas City's own The Freedom Affair. Spots are limited. RSVP now at soundtoscreen.kccreativecity.com or just search for Sound to Screen on Facebook events.